Hey guys, this is Woodshop Junkies and today I'm jumping back in with the restoration of my Wadkin Bursgreen table saw. A couple of months ago I bought an old cast iron Wadkin table saw or cabinet saw in the hopes of restoring it so I can use it in my shop. Since getting it, I converted it to single phase so I can use it here at home, and I also did some restoration work on the top. Since then I took the saw or some of the larger components to be sandblasted and strip off all the paint, and now I need to get a coat of primer on here before it starts rusting. Now if you guys watched my previous videos where I took the saw apart, you'll remember that there was quite a nasty crack in the housing over here. So in addition to having it sandblasted, I also had the crack repaired, instead of trying to do it myself, because welding cast iron is quite specialized work. And as far as I can tell, they opened up the crack with a grinder, heated up this area with a gas torch, and then welded it up with a specialized welding rod. And it seems to have worked alright. Now before I can primer this and the other components, there's a few steps in preparation I need to do first, starting with flattening out this weld with a grinder and a sanding disc. Alright, so that's pretty much it. Nice and flat, and hopefully when it's painted it won't be too visible. Now the weld on the inside of the casing I didn't worry about, because cosmetically it doesn't matter if there is a visible weld on the inside. Next up I'm going to use a wire brush on the grinder to just run over each component before I paint it, to remove any impurities stuck in the pit marks in the cast iron, like dust or rust or anything like that. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for the wire brush. I'm going to repeat the step with each component before I paint it, and it gives the cast iron a nice clean shiny finish. Now for this part specifically, the main body of the saw, because it is very rough and pitted, I'm going to add one additional step. And I'm not 100% sure if it's actually going to work because I've got zero experience, but I'm going to try and use automotive body filler just to smooth it out a bit. It doesn't need to be perfect, just at least a bit better than it is now. Okay guys, so that's pretty much it for the body filler step, and now I'm going to give it a moment to cure before starting with the tedious process of sanding it down with water paper. I'm going to start with an 80 grit and move up to a 180 grit, and if there's any spots I missed with the body filler, I can always just touch it up before painting. Right, so that's pretty much it for the body filler step. I obviously made sure not to get any body filler into the tapped or machined holes, and if it happened to get in there, I cleaned it out before it got hard, because this can obviously cause problems later on. Next I need to start painting, and I'm not exactly set up for painting or spray painting in this workshop, so I'm going to cover my bench with plastic and maybe some of the surrounding areas and hope for the best. Worst case, this is just primer paint, so if I get some dust on the body, I can always just flat it out and spray it again. Right, so before I start painting, I'm just going to give it a quick wipe down with some thinners to remove any debris or dust on the housing, and then close up any of the machined areas I don't want to get paint on. Right, so I put tape on all the machined areas and stuck rolled up paper in all the tapped holes. Normally I wouldn't be too concerned about getting paint in there because I can clear it out by just running a tap through it, but everything on the saw is imperial and I can't really get those taps around here. So next I can finally start painting. So as I said, I'm not 100% on this with experience, so I went to my local paint supplier, told them what I'm doing, and they suggested an automotive etch primer that I dilute 2:1 with thinners, and I guess we'll see how it goes. So that's pretty much it for the first coat of primer, and so far I'm happy with the result. I'm going to let the paint dry properly for the next couple of hours, then run over it quickly with 1000 grit paper before giving it its final touch-up coat of primer. Now I don't know if you guys can notice from the video, but this top area here where I didn't add body filler is a lot more rough and porous than the rest of the saw, or the areas that I did. So I think the entire exercise was successful. I'm not too concerned about this top area because obviously the top of the saw is going to close it. When I've finished with this piece, I'm quickly going to run over the other pieces that I had sandblasted, then take stock of the project. Okay guys, so that's all the large components with a coat of primer, and I just slapped this all together quickly to give you guys an idea of what was actually done. Now I'm quite pleased with the result of the primer coat, but it is clear by my technique I'm going to need a bit of practice before I am confident enough to do the top coat. Now the smaller components I didn't take in for sandblasting because I didn't want to risk them being damaged. So instead I'm going to have to strip off the old paint myself, and I'm going to try and do this with a wire brush and some chemicals. Once that's been done, it can be primed as well, and hopefully by then I would have had the opportunity to practice a bit and I can jump in on the top coat on the saw. With a coat of paint on the saw, it feels like this project is actually getting somewhere, and I'm really excited to finish it off. If you guys aren't subscribed yet and you want to see me get the saw back to a running condition, you should do that now. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers.